Welcome to another episode of Digital Dive Media Podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Kelly, the founder and CEO of Kelly Brand Communications. This is episode 6, and I'm speaking with Tami McQueen, co-founder of 31south. 31south is a full-service creative marketing agency that empowers high-growth organizations to create a repeatable revenue machine hinged on the alignment between sales, marketing, and customer service. Welcome, Tami.
Good morning, Kelly. So wonderful to be on the show again with you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Now, first of all, it's been a while since you and I have had a chance to connect. A few years ago, you were kind enough to be a part of an interview series, KBC Connects, that we had going on at the time. So it is really great to talk with you again, and I can't wait to jump in.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. Let's go.
All right. Can we start with a little bit about your background on your career and how you got started?
Yes, of course. I always tell the story that I was born and raised in Johannesburg, South Africa, to parents who were both entrepreneurs and athletes. And that is what brought me to the US. I played Division I tennis in college, and from there moved after grad school to Texas and then to Atlanta 8 years ago. And I truly attribute Atlanta to my kickstart in the tech community, and forever indebted to the community here in the city for really launching that opportunity. And my background comes from both the corporate and the startup side. I have a background in corporate marketing. I moved into academia and then into the nonprofit world. And I joined SalesOft in 2014 as the first marketing hire and really immersed myself in the B2B software as a service marketplace, and really found such a niche in this that I still believe it's super sexy, love the idea of this industry, and fully immersed in the community of the tech industry.
Now, 2014 was around the time that the whole digital thing started to really sort of explode in terms of businesses understanding this could help your business. What made you realize that, or what was the turning point where you realized I need to have some focus on digital. This is going to be a thing.
It is. It's absolutely. And I think it's hard to truly pinpoint one specific time checkpoint on a timeline for when that, cliche as it may be, the digital transformation really kicked off. But I think it's truly a series of different activities that happen in marketing. You see the onslaught of social media. You've seen marketing going from one to many to one to thousands upon thousands with a lot of the tools that are coming out. I think when you see the onslaught of so much technology that truly enables a marketer to capitalize on the opportunities and also amplify brand, amplify content, you start seeing this. And what we've seen over the past several years is a lot of these buzzwords that come out. So you hear about social selling, social media, and you have to be on there. You have to be on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, whereas I think a lot of people just gravitated toward that without the strategy behind it. But with that came then content marketing, the rise of Pardot, the hometown team in Atlanta here, and then MailChimp. And you've seen all of this. I remember in the very early days when I just graduated college and I walked away with a master's, and I was using, I think, mynewsletterbuilder.com, and it was very clunky. It wasn't streamlined. There was a cap on how many emails you could send, and just as you start acquiring a lot of different tools and you're adding it to your toolkit, you start realizing, oh, okay, you can't snooze on all these tools. And it's really helping a lot leaner teams, because marketing teams weren't built out the way that they are today. Mm-hmm. And people wore many, many different hats and had an idea of generalization rather than this idea of specialization. And so these tools really amplified your bandwidth and allowed you to tackle on a lot more things when you were just a one-man sort of show, one-woman show.
So I want to talk for just a bit about how marketing agencies and professionals their roles and responsibilities are becoming a lot more woven into the sales process.
Yes.
What do you think that means for marketing professionals going forward?
Absolutely. And it's such a great question. I think we can't talk enough about this. And we can talk to it, but it's really important to be actionable in what you do. Marketers and sales folks have in the past really operated in a vacuum, and they haven't had that cross communication amongst the teams. And marketing is typically the team that is thought of that's sitting in the corner, party planning, making pretty brochures, ordering swag. And that's not the case. Marketers are truly influencing revenue. And what I've truly found with a lot of our clients and the industry at large is saying, great, marketers cannot just have an inbound lead number. That's just not enough anymore. Marketers have to have a metric that influences revenue on the sales side. So if they are not fully ingrained in the sales process, how are they truly measured or impacted by what they do?
Absolutely.
And so what I like about this is to ask clients, ask prospects, ask companies, is marketing sitting in a sales meeting every single week?
Yep.
Are they listening? Is that communication open? Is there trust built around what they are doing as well? And what I like to think about is saying, fantastic marketing, this is great, but are you asking for the sales recordings? Are you sitting in sales calls? And why this is important is you're not distracting salespeople from what they are doing every single day. They have a number to hit, they have quotas to make, and they are on the phone all day long. So for them to step away from their desk and come relay that to marketing is incredibly tough to do, and it's not really the most effective use of their time. So marketing, sitting in on calls and listening to recordings over time, can then listen to a lot of the objections.
Yep.
Can really understand and ask the right questions. They can produce content and material that asks the right questions, and it's not just selling the solution, but really inquiring, learning from a human-centered design approach that is empathetic, understanding what their pain points are and how they can move them down the funnel by this true alignment with the sales team.
Oh my gosh, you just recited part of our pitch. You know, it's funny. Yeah, and we had to really take a look at how we were positioning ourselves, and we, part of what we discuss in any prospect meeting or anything is like, we work with your sales team. How can we serve up qualified leads if we don't know where the pain points are lying, like what the objections are? We want to serve you up leads as qualified as possible. We cannot do that if we are operating in a vacuum and just pumping out pretty content.
No.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make sense, because that's the thing. Sales are then saying, well, that lead's not good enough. Marketing is having a heart attack because they are saying, well, why aren't you closing the leads? Why aren't you doing anything with them? But they're not aligned. And that is, who is qualifying the leads? Are you really approaching every single lead with the same qualification criteria as the sales team and the marketing team? And that's when you have true alignment.
Yes.
And I think it's important to have the same metrics that you're focused on. It's not just inbound leads, because you can stand on the corner of Peachtree and Piedmont with a little scanner scanning license plates, kind of like scanning badges at a conference. You know, you don't have any idea who these people are and if they are qualified. So I think that's really key.
Speaking of conferences, you recently did a post on LinkedIn that spoke to my heart about this still traditional archaic way of promoting your company at a conference with a booth and find our booth number. And I want to talk more about that and just maybe shed some light on how companies need to shift their thinking, even in the traditional forums, about how they can really get exposure for their business.
Sure. I'm going to talk to this in two parts. One, the exposure on site at booths, and two, if you're not taking the traditional booth approach sponsorship at a conference. One, I see this time and time and time again in a lot of emails. Say I've signed up and registered for CES or Dreamforce or HubSpot Inbound, and I get a plethora of emails from a lot of sponsors because I will be attending. And what I'm seeing through those emails pre-events and on site is, visit us at booth 873. We can't wait to meet you. Have a demo with such and such sales rep. I think it would be a great fit. I cannot tell you how many times I've walked on the floor and actually seen a number above a booth. They're just not there. And I think at Dreamforce and some of these larger conferences, they do have these overhanging numbers that are massive, but it will say 800 aisle, 900 aisle. But there is no way you can actually find the right number. And so I think people are losing out on such a big opportunity on Twitter to find us at booth 723 at 1 p.m. for a demo, hot demo, get a free stress ball. Are you kidding me? You just can't do this. And I would love for marketers to think a little bit more creatively about this. Let's create a scavenger hunt or something along the way, or tell a story about where you locate it. Something like, you know, once you open the heavy door that I hope you've done your workout for, and you are hit by this enormous air conditioner as you walk through this blisteringly cold conference center. Everyone can resonate with that.
Exactly.
And you navigate through security, you flash your badge, off you go, you're carrying your backpack, you've just been given a tote that you have to carry that's branded. You know, walk straight ahead. You'll see the coffee on the right. You're going to have a DJ on the left. He's probably spinning some 80s tunes right now. Love the Michael Jackson. Keep going and create this idea and say, oh, past this, there's probably a mascot standing to your right. We're just a little around the corner. Tell a story about it. It's fun. People are going to be then looking at that. You can also create little product placements along the way. There are sponsorship opportunities for floor graphics. So that is something that you can incorporate on, and some folks just don't necessarily think about it. So try and tell a story around where you are located, not just a booth number.
Exactly. I think that's a phenomenal way to think about it, because everybody can relate to that storytelling experience of being at a conference. They're always too cold. It's always a lot of walking. It's all, you know, so these are all things. It doesn't matter what conference you go to. This is all relatable. And it's something, that piece of content can be educational and entertaining.
Absolutely, and it's human. The communication is human, and say, or get a popcorn machine or coffee maker, and just you have like someone, you know, in the cartoons when there's like the smell and they like float toward it. So it's sort of funny things like that. There's a lot that you can do with that. And that comes with a lot of preparation as well beforehand. And that will lead me into the second half of the answer, is that you need to be prepared. The heavy lifting comes before the conference. Really preparing, understanding the alignment again with your sales team. Are you there for brand purposes and exposure? Are you there to really set meetings? Are you there to create opportunities? It's really key to have that understanding of what you are there for. And then again, all too often you see events go off. There's a large amount of money spent at these events. People are pulled away from their desks, but it's after the fact. It's like, you don't just like wipe your hands and go back to your office. It is, how are you following up? Who is following up on those leads? Everyone is getting 25 emails a day from this conference. How are you going to stand out? And that's truly what's so important. Now, if you don't have the resources or a full team to go 100 miles an hour at a conference where you can fully equip a booth and have the resources to do well, I truly consider periphery events around a trigger event to be really impactful. So you might not have a full team to staff the booth, nor do you have the bandwidth while you're still creating content, working on product and demos, to be able to prepare a full conference plan. So I like to think of, where are your target audience going to be? What are the conferences that they are attending? And let's think about how you can create or put some resources behind a smaller event, whether this is a round table, a lunch and learn, build your Bloody Mary bar breakfast sort of approach to it. You're already going to be there now with really key solid communication, where you're a human, you understand what they're looking for, that you set this up, you can tee it off really, really well, enjoying from that conference. So I think this is impactful for smaller teams that don't necessarily have the bandwidth or the resources to throw, 7 figures on a sponsorship
Absolutely. Now, when presenting a new strategy rooted in digital to a client, what are some common objections that 31 South is getting, and how are you guys overcoming them? Because we're still sort of in this gap where some companies get it and some companies just don't. They're set in their ways. They're like, we're not putting money behind this. It's not proven. How are you guys overcoming those objections when working with the client?
Absolutely. The creative side of marketing is really aligned with the art of persuasion of marketing. The age-old, what is the experience you're creating for someone? I think our approach is that we've seen marketing swing so far in the pendulum toward the metrics-driven approach, where it's numbers, 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 where we forget the art of creativity, the persuasion, how it makes people feel. And we are truly in this game to impact the way people feel about something, how they resonate with that. What is it, the experience that they're going to remember? We're not the solution for everyone.
Right.
So it's really important for us to also stay true to our vision, mission, and objectives to be able to create these bold experiences. Now, we do understand a lot of clients or prospects that we work with say, okay, we can't go all in 100 miles an hour at the get-go. Let's water that down a little bit and see what that looks like. Let's just put our toe in the water and start that out and see what that looks like. Let's dip it in, get used to the icy temps a little bit. And then let's progress. Let's see how it works. So let's get small victories along the way and then move on to some of the other things. You know, it doesn't make sense, again, for us to come in and say, this is what you have to do.
Right.
Let's understand. Does it align with your culture? Does it align with who you are selling to? Does it make sense? Because oftentimes marketers, myself included, we want to do this like big splash bang sort of idea, and it doesn't even make sense for the brand.
Yeah.
So it's important to listen with the intent to understand rather than with the intent to solve or push a solution.
What's the most uncomfortable thing you've done to grow business?
Oh goodness, I'm not sure if I could say this.
Here you can.
Uncomfortable thing. To grow business. Let me shift this a little bit before I answer that question. And I'll say that I'm really proud that we have not compromised our values in getting to business. I think we are challenged or brought with that, not only as a female, but just in business in general, where we are often met with opportunities that will compromise our values. And we are dead set on truly making sure that we follow what is truly, truly impactful for us internally, and let that lead us rather than a dollar amount or an opportunity on the table. In terms of uncomfortable, gosh, you grow a thick skin. You grow a thick skin. I think some of the more unconventional things we did, we got a 70s sort of retro van in San Francisco during Dreamforce. And it was really just throwback green interior, leather, disco ball, fur seats kind of thing. And we drove through San Francisco, windows down, sort of blaring Lenny Kravitz American Woman kind of thing.
Wow.
We called it the Dream Horse.
Wow.
We were dressed up in the 70s, and it was just all in a lot of fun. I think that's something a little different that you wouldn't necessarily do, but we don't, in the work that we do, we don't get uncomfortable very much. But it can be a challenge, to really stay focused on what you internally believe on.
Which industry thought leaders are you keeping up with, and why?
Okay, great question. Harry Stebbings has a podcast, the 20-Minute VC. Wow. And I am so impressed with this podcast. It has grown immensely over the past few years. Really focused on the VC and founder mindset. Some nuggets of gold is really impressive. I love that. Mandela over at Founder Gym. She is phenomenal at what she's doing for growing founders in what they are doing. Love that. I keep up with that. And then, you know, I think it's important to follow folks in different areas. I have enormous respect for Sarah Buchanan, the founder of the Cooler Project. I do sit on the board for the Cooler Project, but really just so impressed from a non-profit approach, how impactful storytelling can be. And I don't think B2B marketers pay enough attention to the non-profit world. They are truly remarkable at storytelling.
Yes.
And they understand authenticity, they understand empathy, and that is truly what storytelling is about. So I love looking at nonprofits, nonprofit founders, leaders, what they're doing. So that's important. The marketers, from a B2B perspective, the marketers at Drift up in Boston are remarkable. That team is on point, love what they're doing. And, you know, I'm proud of Atlanta, so I really try to stay in tune with a lot of folks that are doing big things here for the city. And I'm trying to think, you know, it's you reach a point in your career where you have to keep leveling up.
Yes.
You have to keep finding those people that are going to push you to learn more. And I think I often see where folks reach that point and they think everyone's looking at them to create new ideas or to share insight, but it becomes increasingly difficult and more important than ever to keep leveling up and stay ahead of the game. And I think that's truly important for folks to do.
Well, as always, Tami, it has been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. We've been speaking with Tami McQueen, the co-founder of 31south. I'll talk to you soon, Tami.
Thank you, Kelly.